Okay, so the other day I was on StockTwits, I was on the Meta Materials page just to see, what everybody's talking about. They're anticipating something to happen with the company, maybe something to talk about later. And for some reason, I kept seeing the ticker symbol DWAC talked about. And obviously the first thing I'm thinking is, okay, you guys are obviously on the wrong page. This is Meta Materials. But regardless, I just wanted to see what this was all about. So went on Google, typed DWAC. Yeah, I get it now. What's up guys, my name is Darren Jackson. Welcome back to yet another video. And DWAC, or what a lot of people are calling the Trump pump, is definitely probably one of the most interesting stocks or investing stories I've heard of since I started investing to begin with. For starters, not only do you have a SPAC involved, which is already, in my opinion, a pretty risky investment to get into, definitely something long-term, even though this kind of goes against that. And you have Donald Trump, who is a popular figure, regardless if you like him or not, you know his name. But regardless, we definitely need to sit down and have a talk about this because this is really interesting stuff. So hopefully by the end of this video, we can go over what DWAC is, what's TMTG, and what are their goals exactly, why the stock price jumped as high as it did within just a few days, and am I personally going to invest into this? I always try to share with you guys if I'm going to invest into it, because none of this is financial advice. I'm not going to advise you, obviously, on what you should or shouldn't do. I just want you guys to hopefully take the information that I'm kind of talking myself through and take it as however you want it to and make your own decision. So let's get started with this interesting situation. So question one, what is DWAC? Well, great question. DWAC is a SPAC. And that leads to a follow-up question, because I don't want to assume everybody that's watching this video knows what a SPAC is. A SPAC stands for a special purpose acquisition company. It's basically a company that was made by a group of people with the sole purpose of acquiring another company through a reverse merger. So they'll typically enter the stock market as a SPAC company, normally worth $10 a share, and they'll also include warrants, which is something we'll kind of go over later. It's basically an option without the option, I guess. And they will acquire a company, which is actually really beneficial for the company being acquired, because that's how a lot of companies nowadays, especially last year, are going into the stock market, because not only is it cheaper, but it's a lot faster to get into so they can start making money. And I've invested in my fair share of SPACs, but this one was really interesting because I couldn't find much of any information on it. Now, I do know that the CEO and the founder of this SPAC of DWAC is Patrick Orlando, and I know it was founded, I believe, around December 11th of 2020. Maybe the information was available then, but now I couldn't really find anything. That doesn't really matter anymore, because the information that we need to know is something we already know, is that the other day they announced a potential merger with Donald Trump, who is already interested in creating his own media company. So once that came out, the price of it shot up. And that's where we get into the next question, because his whole entire corporation is supposed to have the name and the ticker symbol as well of TMTG, or the Trump Media Technology Group. So one of the more interesting things about this whole research situation has been figuring out what is TMTG. Now, the Trump Media Technology Group is essentially a corporation that will involve podcasts, news, videos, social media that is supposed to include non-woke entertainment, amongst other things. I won't even comment on that, but it is really something. And the ultimate goal is to support free speech, which on the surface sounds really good, and also canceling cancel culture. And the headliner of this entire corporation is going to be a social media app called Truth Social. Now, Truth Social has been the front runner of this entire platform that's supposed to be used to fight back against big tech companies, including Facebook and Twitter. And it's a social media app, again, similar to Facebook and Twitter, except it is meant to promote freedom of speech regardless of what side you're on. And again, like I said before, canceling cancel culture. And for those who are actually interested in it, they already have a website to where you can register for your account. Not only that, but you can also pre-order the app on Apple. So there you go. There are some other interesting things about Truth Social itself, but we'll get into that later. But the next thing I wanted to know is, why did the price go up so high? Now, there's obvious answers, and it's gonna be obvious that there aren't obvious answers either, as weird as that sounds, because literally the day I found out, the price was about $40 to $45 a share, which is amazing already, because again, this is DWAC people are investing in, which is a SPAC. And SPACs normally start off around $10 a share, and $45 is a crazy increase. But within the next day, as I'm still doing research, the stock price is going up to $70, $80, over $100 a share, and now consolidating back at $70 a share for a SPAC that was $10 a share just a few days ago. That's over 600+% increase. So obviously we need to know, how is this happening? It's safe to say that the biggest reason is definitely because Donald Trump. He's very popular, regardless if you like it or regardless if you don't, everybody knows who he is. Also, SPACs typically offer a limited amount of stocks with a limited amount of money. They're normally not putting all of the money that they have into the stock market. They're using it to pay off certain things. For example, in this company, they're probably giving a lot of money to Donald Trump to do what he needs to do on his end for his media group, which that information is really important as far as the number of stocks that they actually make available, because another reason is the amount of people that are more than likely going to be holding the stock for the long run. Now, I said I wasn't going to make this video political. Actually, I don't think I said that. This video is not meant to be political. This is literally just somebody that's interested or not interested in investing and the reasons to why or why not. But that doesn't mean that there aren't people that are actually holding onto the stock for political reasons. That's more than likely happening. And then you also may have people that are holding because they actually believe in what could potentially happen, regardless if they like them or not. So the more people are holding, then the higher the price is going to go. And because of that, a lot of people aren't able to actually short the stock because they're just going to lose a lot of money because this price has shot up significantly. So hopefully no one out there has shorted this stock or tried to. So after doing a lot of research and trying to get both sides of the story, looking at different news headlines and different YouTube videos, the last question I had to ask myself was, is this something that I want to invest into? Just from a simple investing mindset, my answer would be not yet, at least not yet. And some of the reasons of that are pretty obvious and pretty interesting and a little weird as well. For starters, the stock price. It's really high. If this stock had been out for a minute, I'm sure the PE ratio, which kind of gives you an idea if the stock price is overvalued or undervalued, would be significantly overvalued. A lot of people are investing into a SPAC, which is basically just hope. They're going to not only acquire a company that you're going to be interested in, but they're going to acquire a company that you're going to be interested in that's going to have a lot of success. That's why I said at the beginning of this video that I feel like SPACs can be a very risky play, especially when you're investing into them prior to the news. Personally, every SPAC that I invested into is because I heard about the company they acquired and I was interested in the company, with one exception of a SPAC that I heard of from the same situation. And then once I invested into them, they released news of another SPAC that they're going to open. So I trusted the first decision and I invested into the second SPAC after that. Otherwise, it's a pretty risky situation if you ask me. On top of that, we only have the news to go by and there's really no platform yet. It's all just hype. Yes, you can see a lot of the interfaces of Truth Social, for example, and see what it's supposed to look like. But it's not an app yet. It's something that you can pre-order and hopefully it comes out and then we can see the results from there. So I think that's at least what I would want to wait on. I would want to wait on the results and at the same time the price to kind of calm down a little bit and then have some true profit based off true results. But speaking of the social media platform, there's a lot of weird things I'm hearing and a lot of things that just don't make sense to me. And it's the simplest things. For starters, if you look at the actual interface of Truth Social, it literally looks like, and it's actually described as a copycat Twitter. It just has a news feed, it has a little symbol on the side where you can add a post, which apparently they're calling truths, which is like tweets. And if you want to retweet somebody's truth, I believe it's called a retruth. So that's okay, pretty creative, I guess. Also, there are a lot of situations apparently in regards to their terms and services that is very questionable, especially in comparison to what this entire corporation, this platform is supposed to be about. Again, it's described as a platform that's supposed to combat big tech companies and other media companies that want to silence certain people. And that makes sense for someone like Donald Trump, who was recently banned back in January from social media apps like Facebook and Twitter after the riots at the Capitol that happened earlier that month, and the belief that he incited that entire situation. So it makes sense why he was banned from that and why he would want to start a situation like this. Apparently there's news again about what's going on, the terms and conditions that just make no sense at all. For starters, I believe there's something in there saying that you can't talk negative about him or the actual app itself or the platform in general on their social media app. And they're able to ban and block people if they decide not to go by those rules. And apparently they're actually supported by something called Section 230, which allows them to be blocked from any potential lawsuits that anyone would try to make against them. On top of that, one of the weirdest things I heard is apparently one of the other things that's prohibited is the excessive use of capital letters. And I'm just thinking, well, what if I want to use a lot of capital letters? I love capital letters. Maybe that's just something that he likes to do on his recent platforms, that he doesn't want other people to do it. I don't know if this is all true, but it's the same thing for multiple websites. And a lot of people may argue it's false, but hopefully this is proven to be wrong, because that might not be a good look regardless. Like I said, at the end of the day, there is no indication of a working platform. This is all so far just news and images. And honestly, in the stock market nowadays, that's enough to get the stock price going. So if you were able to get profit from that, hey, more power to you. Honestly, I wish I could have put in a couple hundred shares at $10 a share and might have retired from my job at this point. Let me know in the comments below if this is a situation you got yourself in. Let me know what you guys think about this stock. It's definitely the most popular stock out there right now. Do you guys think this is a long-term play, or is this just a short-term money grab go? What do you guys think about this whole situation? And make sure you guys watch this other video, which I really hope helps you out on your investing journey. I appreciate you guys watching, and until next time, take care.